Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. It's as high as I can count.
I am Brittany and I am here with Jason and we are at Tennis Warehouse, and today we're doing a really fun comparative review, a head-to-head between the Wilson Blade 100 V9 and the Babolat Pure Strike 100. We've play tested both of these rackets. We've got to hit with them side by side. We have both rackets strung up with our playtester string of choice, Vocal Cyclone, at around 53 pounds. Both of these rackets, we have a good idea on how they play. Now we're going to see how they feel next to each other. What do you think? How did this racket work on ground strokes?
Yeah, like you said, we know these rackets really well. I like these rackets a lot, so it was a very tough head-to-head for me. And you know, I wish I could magically kind of switch between the rackets in the middle of a point. Well, I'll start with kind of what they're both good at. I think these are both very maneuverable rackets for being about 300 grams. You know, they both got that 16 by 19 string pattern, and the balance is about the same, swing weight's about the same as well. But when I'm playing defense is kind of where I like this blade a little bit more. I feel like it's giving me a bit more pop. And so if I'm throwing up a lob or I'm just blocking a shot back, I feel like the blade just gives me that extra depth that I need and kind of helps me get back into the point. But when I'm feeling good and I'm feeling aggressive and I'm playing the way I want to play, then I like the strike more, because I feel like I can swing out a lot more with it and be more aggressive and not be afraid of overhitting with this racket. Whereas when I do that at times with the blade, I feel like I am overhitting and the ball launches a little bit long on me. So it's a close call for me on the ground strokes, but I will give the slight edge to the Pure Strike. What about you?
Well, we're going to say a lot of similar things. I know we've been hitting against each other, going back and forth. Going into this playtest, I kind of thought I knew which one I was going to pick from the start, but then actually hitting them side by side, I started to change my mind. But yeah, I have to agree with you. I preferred the Pure Strike on the offense. For me, it was like that point and shoot racket. If I picked the spot I wanted to go to, I could just swing through without any fear of overhitting and be pretty precise. So when I was being aggressive and really offensive, I liked that Pure Strike and points. However, when it came to defense, when I was kind of scrambling, I liked kind of the forgiveness of the Blade 100. I felt I could do a little bit more with my shots, be a little bit more versatile. They are both really easy to swing. I think there's a good blend of power and control between the two. So with my winner, I'm gonna have to pick a tie for ground strokes, but I promise I will break the tie going forward.
Okay.
What do you think of both of these rackets up at net?
Up at net, this one is a little bit more clear cut for me. My winner, I'll start right off the bat, is the Blade, and for a couple reasons. One, because of the feel. It's a bit more plush feeling. I feel like it just kind of absorbs pace better with this racket versus the Pure Strike. It's a bit more responsive feeling, and I can really kind of feel my mishits when I do kind of hit outside the sweet spot. Speaking of that, my second reasoning is that the Blade allows me to be, it's a bit more forgiving when I do miss hit. I like to find every part of the string bed when I volley, because I'm not the most greatest volleyer, so I will miss hit from time to time. And so when I do, I feel like the blade is a bit more stable, and the shot still kind of goes where I need it to go. And so for that reason, and because of the feel, and I feel like I can hit my touch shots better, I'm going with the Blade. What about you?
Well, I am also going to agree with you. For me, I thought both of them are very maneuverable frames. I played both singles and doubles with them, so got a lot of action up at net, even though, like you, I don't really head up to net as often as some of the other play testers. But what I liked about the Blade was that I just had a better feel for the ball. I thought the string bed pocketed the ball a little bit better, and so I was able to hit a more variety of volleys, a lot of half volleys I was able to pick up, even some touch and angle volleys. I really liked that I had the ability to kind of choose, whereas with the Pure Strike, I stuck with more of my tried and true kind of punch it deep kind of volley. So for me as well, I am picking the Blade up in net, just a little bit more versatile of a racket. Now comes to serves, our favorite.
Yes, the serves. Okay, so for me, Luckily, we do have the Zenith machine here, and so I was able to get these rackets out on court and log in and kind of see my numbers there. And really, there was about 1 to 2 miles per hour separating between the two. The blade was giving me a little bit more pop. And the Pure Strike I felt like I was getting a little bit more precision with it. I felt like I could go for smaller targets and hit those. But both rackets I felt like had great access to spin, good on that second serve where I can kind of just slice and really brush up against the ball and get the ball into play. So really it's kind of picking what I want more. Do I want a little bit more power or do I want a little bit more precision? And so for me, it's a toss-up.
So you're a tie.
It's a tie.
All right, I at least have a winner for this one. Going back and forth, serving wasn't necessarily my favorite with either of these rackets, but I was able to get my racket up and over my head with ease, and I thought there was kind of that combination of power and control, but I did end up leaning more towards the Pure Strike. For me, that reasoning being I felt I could get a little bit more net clearance on my second serve, a little bit more access to spin, and as well as some slice. I was really able to kind of cut that ball out wide, and so I was getting a couple more free points off the Pure Strike, and so for that reason, I chose the Pure Strike on serve. Now, returns. What do you think?
Returns, I think similar to ground strokes for me, very close between both rackets. I feel like both these rackets just do a lot of things well. Blend of power control, has good spin. I felt like I can just swing out more and attack more with the Pure Strike, especially on second serves. I felt like I could just really go after the ball and not be afraid of it launching long. And then when I was going up against bigger hitters, bigger servers, then I felt like the blade was just helping me kind of block the shot back and then really help me recover it back to the middle and giving me time to defend more. So really, really tough for me picking between the two. If I had to choose, I think I would lean a little bit more toward the Pure Strike simply because it just allowed me to play my game and the way I want to play and be aggressive.
Well, for me, I preferred to return over serve with both of these rackets. No surprise, I love to return. But what I felt stood out to me was that I could be more aggressive with the blade. Now, it was really easy to get both of these rackets into position. I could really swing through, but I just felt like I just felt better with the racket when I was returning on a first serve. I could block it back. On second serve, I could swing through. And so I was finding myself being a little bit more aggressive with the blade, and so I leaned towards the blade on returns. So now, one of the things, the specs are very similar between these two rackets, and I think one of the bigger differentiating things is the feel. Now, how did the two rackets feel in terms of feel? Which one did you like?
Yeah, feel-wise, this is definitely, like you mentioned, where it separates. And I feel like with the blade, it's more plush feeling, maybe a little bit more on the dampened side as well. But you can feel that racket flex and breathe. And with the Pure Strike, I felt more like I was more connected to my shots. When I do miss hit and I'm not hitting in the sweet spot, I know where I'm mishitting. I know that, I'm hit it a little bit low, so it's gonna land short. It was tougher to feel that with the blade, and so the Pure Strike was just a bit more responsive to me, and that is the reason why I will pick the Strike over the blade. What about you?
Now, normally, we've been playtesting for years. I will say I almost always prefer Babolat over Wilson in terms of feel. I just have played with Babolat rackets my whole life and just felt like I connected with that better. However, there's always exceptions to the rule, and this Blade 100 is the exception for me. I preferred the feel of the blade over the Pure Strike. I just felt a little bit more connected with the blade. The Pure Strike was a little bit on the firmer side, and I just felt like the ball was coming out too fast out of the string bed for me to really get what I needed out of the ball. I did like the depth I got from the Pure Strike with kind of that extra pop, but overall I think if I came down to it between the two, I preferred the blade. So now we've kind of wrapped up everything. We have to pick a big winner.
This is tough because I really like both rackets. I think both rackets are really, really great options for intermediate level players. And it's just very, very minute differences between the two. And I really could play a tournament with both. I think both, I could just step out on court and be comfortable with both rackets. For me, it really depends. It really depends. I know that's a kind of a cop-out answer, but it really depends on the player. If I'm playing a more defensive player like our playtester Mark Boone, then I like the Pure Strike. I have to go and attack and I have to swing out. But when I'm playing like someone like Brittany or Chris, and I'm defending a lot more, I like the blade because it just kind of allows me to get more depth on my shots and just allows me to have more time. But if I have to pick between the two, then I want to pick the one that allows me to play the way I want to play. And so for that reason, my winner is the Pure Strike.
Will this be the first comparative review we both picked the same thing? Not this time, because I am going with the blade. For me, it is my favorite racket out of the Wilson line. I've called it the last couple generations the hidden gem. It plays very similarly to my racket of choice, the E-Zone 100. And I think it's just a great all-around racket. I can do whatever I want to do with it, and while I do like that when I'm really aggressive with that racket, I think with this one I can get there with a couple different things. So my overall pick is the Blade 100 for this review, and that wraps it up. For more information on either of these two rackets, please head to Tennis Warehouse, Tennis Warehouse Europe, or Tennis Only.